Coloquemos masacres, muertes selectivas.
Every step opens up a path. Gloria Cuartas and the Community of Peace, San Josecito. The farmers of San Josecito do not want to forget. Each of them has lost family members in the armed conflict between the violent protagonists who operate outside the law. They protest against the atrocities committed without any threat of punishment, not letting themselves be defeated by fear.
To keep the memory alive, because in this area more than 100 people have been murdered at military checkpoints. I mean by the military, the paramilitary, and also by the guerrillas.
Paramilitares, también las acciones de la guerrilla.
Gloria Cuartas, in the years of 1995, 96, and 97, was the mayor of Apartado, the provincial capital of Urabá on the northern frontier between Colombia and Panama. In those years, San José Apartado was the heart and center of the armed conflict. The Community of Peace, San Josecito, is in the Urabá province near Apartado and has 1,200 inhabitants. "30 years ago, the humble people cut down part of the mountain and erected 32 small communities, which in time became the village of San José Apartado. In 1997, these same people decided to leave the politics of violence behind, and they declared San José a community of peace. This has various implications. No arms or armed persons can enter the community. There is no alcohol consumption. Domestic violence is not tolerated, and the Council of the Community of Peace denounces any instances of violence and terror to the public prosecutor and to the international organizations at the risk of their own lives." Gilardo Puequia is part of the council.
Hoy en día, ya que llevamos casi 11 años, debiera de haber habido un cambio porque nosotros hemos hecho las denuncias.
To this day, and it's almost 11 years now, some change must come about. Because we have made the claims, we've denounced everything, all types of upset, not just against the military and the police, but against the guerrillas who have assaulted us as well. With these lawsuits, what we are looking for is, for example, that the organs of justice open up investigations against the military, against the police, but there has not been any interest on the part of the organizations in control. So this brings us to stand firm with our decision. We believe that this is all a plan by the same government, of the same local authorities, where the very same paramilitary and the large businesses have already designed. A project to exterminate the farmers, kick them off their own land, so they can take over the lands and then, after taking power, implement the project they want. Livestock, coca, African palms, the expansion of banana cultivation.
Palma africana, la ampliación de los cultivos de plátano.
Many villages in Urabá feel invaded by armed groups. The international conflict in Colombia has a history going back 60 years. The growing fragmentation of the disparate armed forces operating outside the law made the situation uncontrollable. As the years passed, the violence in the country escalated dramatically. The victims are farmers from faraway sectors who own fertile land. Large estate holders and multinational businesses wish to take advantage of the situation and appropriate these lands for themselves. Their private armies, the paramilitaries, all operate freely outside the laws of the state, terrorizing the population. The value of Gloria Cuartas in this situation and her desire to put an end to the conflict are recognized everywhere. In a book, UNESCO calls her one of the most important women of the last century, and they named her the Mayor of Peace.
La alcaldesa nunca utilizó un presupuesto municipal.
As the mayor, I never used municipal funds from the political public to hatch security schemes. No escorts, no cars with blackened windows. The doors to the mayor's office were always open.
No se cerraron las puertas de la alcaldía. Todo se abrió.
Because when there is an increase in fear, people try to get hold of guns, barricading themselves, forming an army of power with the authorities to tell the rest of us, now we're in control.
Diciéndole a los demás, aquí mandamos nosotros. Como mujer,
As a woman, I exercised a different political practice, to open the doors to the mayor's office, a car, a motorbike, where anybody could come up, have a public agenda. Every day telling the people where their mayor was going, which neighborhood, who she was going to speak with, which international organization was arriving.
a su alcaldesa, a qué barrio va, con quién va a hablar, qué organización internacional llegaba.
Another unique routine was something we had on every Wednesday, an open dialogue with the children. There, the public officials tell the youngsters, the boys and girls, why there has been armed conflict, why it was necessary to reconsider a different educational system.
¿Por qué había conflicto armado? ¿Por qué era necesario repensar un modelo educativo?
That we familiarize ourselves with nature, love the river, the sea, the coal, the petroleum, to realize all this is here where we are walking.
El petróleo. Conocer qué hay ahí donde estamos caminando.
Gloria, 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 Gloria mi amorcito. Gloria, 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 Gloria mi amorcito. Sácale un hijito.
Her example of courage and her absolute refusal to resort to armed defense influenced everyone around her.
Para nosotros, Gloria Cuarta.
For us, Gloria Cuartas is very important because she performs a feminine kind of work that awakens the right that we women must defend ourselves as women. If a man is a bit machista, she tells him, machismo we leave behind, because here we speak about equality.
Fue muy difícil para ella. Ella le tocó.
It was very hard for her. She had to live through the massacres in banana fields, here in San Jose, and everywhere else.
Gloria Cuartas has had the strength of resistance to say things as they really are, to denounce.
Nowadays, Gloria lives in Bogotá and is a member of the Polo Democrático, which expresses the aims of the different left-wing groups in Colombia. She aspires to be a senator. She walks multiple paths to realize her vision of a peaceful Colombia.
Da da da
To this day, very few paramilitaries have been arrested. José Arroyo, alias the Butcher of Briseño, confessed to 32 murders during his first days behind bars.
You've never received money from the coca trade?
Pues me atrevo a decir que no, porque, o sea, lo que recibió una bonificación.
Well, I wouldn't say no, because what I received was a bonus that was owed to every man in the organization, but no.
Pues allá sucedieron cosas de que.
A lot of things happened there. Men who were clearly guerrillas, others were militia, and I need to clarify many things, many deeds. We spoke with the victims from there, and they told us that their children and parents were not members of the guerrilla, that they had nothing to do with the armed conflict.
No, es que le digo que por lo menos.
No, at least they're not going to say yes. That's logical, and that's what must be investigated.
One of the elders of the community of peace tells of a paramilitary tactic in which they label peaceful victims as guerrillas.
Luego los días pasó de que mandaron una razón con los mismos campesinos de que todo el mundo se ocupáramos y no que nos mataban.
After a few days, an order was sent with the same farmers that everyone had to clear out or else they would kill us. One girl, my brother's godmother, said she would not leave, that she'd stay put in her house. Then the paramilitaries, along with the army, came along and killed her.
Luego le quitaron el vestido que tenía y le pusieron un vestido glamurado.
They grabbed her by the hair, took her outside, then removed her dress and put on a camouflaged outfit, as if she were a guerrilla.
La señora no era guerrilla. No, una trabajadora.
On February 21st, 2005, a massacre was perpetrated by the military in the community of peace. These assassins are currently being investigated by the Colombian justice system. The farmers say that because they do not want to live in the same place as these very same murderers, the community of peace has left the village of San Jose and has built 4 years ago in the open countryside another village, San Josecito.
Hasta el momento y ahora que estamos en San José, pues entonces ya tuvimos que venir para acá.
We had to come here because the police invaded the little village. Since we had dedicated ourselves to being neutral, to not give any information to any armed group, whatever they were calling themselves, we decided to come and establish our farms here.
The community of peace has now 1,200 inhabitants. In the weekly gathering of collective work to construct the new village, everyone helps in the establishment of the village of peace. Houses for each family already exist, along with public baths, a school, a meeting space, and a humble monument. Each stone represents a murder victim. With Mrs. Amanda's humble store, everything has gone back to normal. One can go and buy something now.
¿Hay cigarrillos?
Sí, señor.
Bueno, me hace favor y me entrega por este.
Bueno,
Te lo pagamos. Bueno, las páginas libre pérdidas.
This is one of our principles. We don't accept alcohol. Sometimes the consumption of liquor is one of the causes of domestic violence here. When the husband comes home drunk, and if his child goes to him, he gets hit. The wife asks, "Why are you drinking instead of bringing food home?" So the husband gets furious. Here there hardly exist these kinds of problems. The vision I have up until 2012 is that we can be here in San Jose. I own my farm, and my son's studying or studying at some college away from here. That we no longer have to live with this fear that if we're at the farm and there's a knock on the door, they kill us.
nosotros a caminar. Santa María, ven, ven con nosotros a caminar. Santa
Brígida González Lopez paints in order not to forget. Her images can be found published in various books. In a Christmas-time massacre, her pregnant daughter-in-law and her teenage daughter, among other young people, were assassinated.
This is the song she sang.
Yo pinto lo que he visto. Por ejemplo,
I paint what I have seen. For example, I saw how they chopped up a 14-year-old boy, the paramilitaries. They started to cut off his feet. They cut off all his body parts, and they just left the torso behind. Then they played around with his head. Painting, art, is a therapy. It awakens the mind, the work of art.
La obra del arte.
To protect the farmers against killings and massacres by any kind of armed groups, international observers live there full-time as witnesses. As the government is fearful of projecting a negative image to the outside world, there are no assassinations when the international observers are present.
The army is all around here. We don't see them, but we are surrounded by them.
In the peace community, to avoid extermination by the various armed factions, needs the permanent presence of the international brigadiers. The troops of PBI, Peace Brigade International, accompany them under any circumstances. It does not matter if they have to travel to the public persecutor in Apartado or visit the nearby village of the indigenous Catio tribe. These neighbors show the people of San Josecito how to live in the jungle using self-reliance. The farmers say that the government does not accept a community where state armed forces have no access to. A circle of military staff closed off San Josecito. Food supplies were cut off, animals, supplies and crops were confiscated. The people starved. The community responded with a vital and creative proposal, the Farmers' University.
En la Universidad Campesina solamente son
The Farmer University is just a community meeting place. It's not a classroom. There are no blackboards. It's about sharing each and everyone's experiences in their communities.
Este proyecto es un proyecto para compartir saberes.
This project exists to share knowledge, to develop skills, to take care of the land, to reclaim our dignity.
Today, they have learned to cultivate a variety of edible plants near their homes.
Enseguida la platanera hay un yucal, 4,240 palos.
There are various banana crops, a yucca crop, 424 stalks. With that, we resist this war, what is called getting one's bread. Those of us here live on beans, rice, plantains, bananas, yucca, many crops in order to resist the war.
With the sale of their baby bananas, the members of the community make enough money for their daily needs. For their own safety, they never venture out alone to the wild fields. They always work in groups. In 2007, San Josecito was awarded the Prize of Peace from Aachen, Germany. But in Colombia, the threat against the village continues. In the Apartado bus station, 2 leaders of the peace community were killed when they went to the market unaccompanied by their international brigadiers. Today, the entire village of San Josecito, together with the Catio people and Gloria Cuartas, marched 20 kilometers from the village to the city of Apartado.
De 1998 hasta el 2007.
Between 1998 and 2007, there was a consolidation process of paramilitary power and control. They advanced to a political level within the army administration.
Processus de reprise et de contrôle par les paramilitaires.
A nivel político.
They protest against impunities, showing that they will not surrender to fear.
Very well. Some applause. Where are we going now?
Para Apartado.
¿Hacer qué?
To do what?
Vamos al cementerio.
Y a llevarle flores.
A llevar flores.
To bring flowers, to remember all the people that have loved us very much and who have worked on this land.
Y que han trabajado por esta tierra.
For the inhabitants of San Josecito, differences no longer exist between the various armed groups such as the paramilitary, guerrillas, or military. They have experienced violence and murder by all of these groups. The emotional situation is chaotic. It is no longer easy to differentiate friends from enemies. Guerrillas and paramilitaries recruit youngsters from age 12 onward to fight. Any armed group can include members of the same family. Because of this, youngsters who are members of any armed group cannot enter San Josecito, not even to visit their parents.
Vamos a hacerle un homenaje, a dejar grabada su memoria.
We're going to pay tribute to our people in their memory. In this place, so many members of the peace community have been slaughtered. We're going to commemorate these lives that were destroyed right here. This public place, which is so controlled by the same forces of the state, has been the scene of numerous crimes.
The quiet serenity of the inhabitants of San Josecito is impressive. It seems that their decision to distance themselves from violence, with all its consequences, gives them dignity, bravery, and a sense of lightness to carry on with such a heavy destiny. Gloria Cuartas, the mayor of peace, accompanies them to this day, supporting them in their international relations. In the constant search for creative paths to escape the conflict in Colombia, one must concentrate on the women and humble communities who create strong ways of living together, rejecting the violence between families as well as the external violence. They show us that peace is more than just the mere absence of weapons. Their accomplishments can serve as models throughout all of Latin America. They invite us to leave helplessness and fear behind, opening up a path with each new step.
How would I like to live? Without any war.